much like every other category of this layering system, puffy jackets, this insulation layer is very subjective. So a lot of this is going to boil down to what your body type is, how cool or hot you are naturally, price-wise. If you're hiking in winter, I always choose to have a hooded jacket. It's a personal choice. There's not a specific hat that I like to hike in, and I typically only wear my beanie when I'm in camp, or if I stop for an extended period of time to eat lunch, which is something pretty rare. I usually eat while I'm walking. So we've talked about my go-to winter jacket, the Ghost Whisperer. I love this thing. It's got, I mean, pound for pound, the most full feature option on the market right now is the Ghost Whisperer, and I love it. That's the reason why it's my go-to. But with that being said, there's a number of other options out there depending on, like I said, the natural body heat, how warm you are naturally, what you want to spend or how much you've budgeted for this, and then also what kind of climate you're in. If it's late fall or early spring, are you going to be dealing with more rain or higher humidity? So I've got some options out here that I've just collected over the years that I've tried out, and yeah, some of them are great options. So I'll just run you through them. So again, Ghost Whisperer, that's my go-to for this current setup that I'm using. As far as non-hooded versions, you can get down obviously in non-hooded versions. This is the Outdoor Research Transcendent. It is non-hooded, but it's a very nice puffy jacket. It's got super soft feel, and it's going to keep you warm. Pair this with a nice buff, a nice hat, some kind of beanie, and it can be very warm and very adequate for most people down to very low temperatures. Some people choose to have it because of their not liking the feeling of having their hood attached to their jacket, and when they move their shoulders and things like that, it's definitely a different feel with certain types of hoods. On some of the more basic or older models of jackets, even some of the new stuff that's on the market with hoods, you aren't going to get a hood that travels with you. Fortunately, the Ghost Whisperer, the way it kind of hugs around your face, it does travel with you when you turn your head to look at something. Others will completely block your view from one eye when you look to the right or left. So that, I think, is a deciding factor for a lot of folks. They don't want to have that obstruction of view. If they need to look to the right really quick or something like that, then they want to have full view. So a hooded option or a non-hooded option is right for a lot of people. This Outdoor Research Transcendence is a very warm jacket, and about half the price of the Ghost Whisperer. So a good option for a lot of folks. Then, when we go into other hooded options like the Ghost Whisperer, if you were trying to kind of more mimic the setup style that I have, the Outdoor Research Transcendent comes with a hooded version, and it has the one thing I liked about this hood, even though it doesn't have that following feature where it really hugs your face and stays with you, it does have elastic cords that you can tighten around the brim, and then there's also an elastic pull for the crown area that will tighten it down around your head, and you can really dial in how much warmth you're keeping in. There was some videos done that I saw where you could look at the temperature model and see that there was so much heat around the neckline of a non-hooded jacket, which is essentially your warmth escaping, and then comparing to a hooded jacket that was cinched down around the neck and closed in around the face, there was a lot less heat showing up on the on that model, and it was showing that the heat is actually trapped and staying inside the jacket with you. So that's part of the reason why I choose to do a hooded version on my winter jackets. 3-season jackets, not so much. Different story. We'll get into that. And then there's other options from hooded versions like this, my Trail Co jacket. It's an 800 fill jacket. My Trail Co is gone now. They were only available for like a year and a half, but they were the new Go Light. and they made some really nice gear, but it was definitely, you could tell that it was more of an economic or lower price gear for a specific reason. The material that they used had a lot more trouble keeping down in. There was a lot more shed on this than some of the more high-end jackets. So you could physically see the down coming out of the jacket almost from the first use on this thing. And I think Rev's been using this for a couple of years now, year and a half maybe. And he's mentioned more than once about the down shed on this jacket. So just something to keep in mind. It may be less expensive. It may be the right thing for you, but it may not last as long because the materials aren't as high quality, definitely not as light, and then you have the downshed. So at some point it becomes less warm. So it's more of a 3-season jacket at that point, but 800 fill jacket at the price point, and I think it's only like 13.5 ounces, so it's not super heavy. It's right in line with something like the Outdoor Research Transcendent as far as weight is concerned, but the Transcendent is, I want to say, a 650 fill, and this is 800 fill, so technically it's warmer. So let me get those out of the way. Now, if you are into spring and summer and looking for something that's maybe less expensive, or maybe you're the guy that or gal that does not like to have a hood, there's a lot of very inexpensive, some very popular non-hooded options out there, and there's some very low price ones. This is a Hawk brand jacket, Hawk and Co. It's a Costco brand, Permaloft synthetic puffy jacket, and Costco had these for like $19.99 at one point, and it's not a bad jacket at all. I wore it. We have a fire pit here at the house, and I wear it out by the fire pit all the time because it's a $20 warm jacket that if I were to burn it, it wouldn't be the end of the world, and it's still ripstop nylon, so I could patch it with some tenacious tape if I ever had an issue with that. Haven't yet so far, but it's an excellent jacket. Could be a perfect option for somebody, especially if you're only getting down into the 40s or maybe upper 30s. A non-hooded, light synthetic jacket like this it could be the way to go. There's also a lot to be said for high humidity areas, or if you're going to be experiencing a ton of rain and you don't want to have your shell on all the time. Something like the hydrophobic down or treated down that the Ghost Whisperer has, not all other jackets have that. So that jacket can withstand some moisture, some rain. It'll beat up. It's got a DWR coating on the outside, so it lends itself to that, but that also drives the price up. So a synthetic jacket in more rainy climates at a lower price could be a good option as well. And these things are made by everyone. So some of the popular ones out there, you've got Outdoor Research makes one. I'm not sure what model this is. I've had this for 10 years, and it's it's a lightweight synthetic jacket, a lot like the Hawk or Hawk Code jacket. It does have some extra features to it, and chest pocket, and it folds into its own pocket to make a pillow, and I don't know, it's a very warm synthetic jacket, and this is 10 or 12-year-old technology at this point, and it's still tried and true. Companies are still using it and having a lot of success with it. Patagonia makes a Nano Puff, and the Patagonia Nano Puff comes so many different ways. You can get it hooded, non-hooded. It's a quilted Permaloft insulated jacket. That's, at the end of the day, that's it. They do a lot. Please don't get me wrong. They do a lot with just responsibly sourced materials and organic and recycled materials, things like that. So there's a lot to be said for what Patagonia is doing with that in the industry. But you can get this as a pullover, which that's what this is. So it's only got a half zip, and then the rest of it is a pullover. And you pull it on like you would a fleece, and it's a great insulative layer just because of that. You can get it in hooded, full zip, and so yeah, there's tons of features, tons of options with that Patagonia brand. And then North Face made the Thermoball, and This was for a long time, and to a lot of folks, I think it still is. It's an excellent option because of the Thermoball technology. Now, if you haven't done any research on that, basically they take the insulation, it's a synthetic, and they take that, and it's batted form, I guess is what it was called. So synthetic insulation is called batting, and if you take the fibers of that, and they're basically they're little balls of that batting type insulated or synthetic material, and then they're quilted into these little boxes. Tough part with this one is that it's not overly warm. It's a great jacket to get through a lot of weather conditions, but at a certain point it's going to have limitations, just like any other synthetic jacket, where it's just not going to make it to where somewhere like the Ghost Whisper or even the Transcendent would be as far as warmth is concerned. Paired up with the right shell layer, and you could save some extra warmth. But as far as something that's going to be on every shelf and every REI and at every outlet, and you can buy this across the world on every platform, this is going to be so readily available, but it's not going to be as warm. It's going to be less expensive. You can pick up the last year's model type stuff at the outlet mall for like $70. You can get a North Face jacket, and they're lightweight. I think this thing weighs like 12 ounces, maybe less than 12 ounces in the non-hooded version, of course. And yeah, I don't know. I wear this jacket all the time, and it works really well. But again, down to certain temperatures, at a certain point, it's going to have its limitation, and I'm not going to be able to wear it. But again, with the Thermoball technology being synthetic, it's going to be warm when it's wet as well, kind of. Down clumps, unless it's hydrophobic or it's treated, down is going to clump up when it gets wet, fall down into the bottom of the baffles, and it's going to lose its insulative properties. So that's where this one would exceed capability. So yeah, I know that's a lot. We could do a whole nother video just on insulative layers, which we may do. Let us know if you want to see more about that. But yeah, that's just kind of like a view at 35,000 feet of insulation layers, and I'm going to take you into the shell layer now and just show you a couple of options. I know we're kind of getting long on this, but I definitely want to touch base on some other options for shells if you want something that's breathable or just waterproof. So I'll be right back.